The January 6th attack on the Capitol wasn't just a one-time event, but rather part of a growing insurrectionist movement in the United States. That's the conclusion from a University of Chicago survey. And among the key findings, a significant percentage of Americans still falsely believe the 2020 presidential election was stolen and say they support violence to accomplish what they believe would restore former President Trump to office. And the report's author, Robert Pape, joins us now. He's political science professor at the University of Chicago and director of the Chicago Project on Security and Threats. Robert Pape, great to have you back on Chicago Tonight. So
thanks for having me, Paris.
Good to have you. So let's get right to your survey. It was conducted with 1,070 Americans across the country.
Right.
And here are some of your findings. 23 million Americans you find support use of force to restore Trump to the presidency. 65 million believe that the Biden presidency is illegitimate, and 21 million believe both of those things. What are the big takeaways from those figures?
Well, these are really disturbing numbers, Paris. The fact that if you combine those together, those radical beliefs, that 8% of American adults believe both, that the use of force to restore Trump to the presidency is justified, and that Biden is an illegitimate president, that equates to 21 million who hold both of those radical beliefs. That's really very distressing news, because what that means is that the insurrectionist sentiments that we saw explode really on January 6th, they're not over. They're continuing. They are large in the body politic. This is very disturbing, and even more so because we conducted a nationally representative sample with the National Opinion Research Center, one of the most respected polling agencies on the planet. And this is very sound data. We've stress tested it in numerous ways to see, is there stability across responses, or are this just checking the boxes?
So you're confident.
The fact of the matter is, it's disturbing.
You're confident in the data here, you're extrapolating from the 1,070 Americans that you surveyed to find these figures. What are driving these extreme beliefs?
There's two core beliefs underneath the insurrectionist movement. The first is the fear of the Great Replacement, the idea that the rights of Blacks and Hispanics will dominate the rights of whites. 63% of the 21 million hold that belief. The other is the idea of a QAnon cabal. That is, that there is a satanic cult of pedophiles that are controlling and running the US government. 53% of the 21 million believe that radical idea. And this is very important because it's not just how many in the movement believe it, but we can look at how this compares to the rest of the population. And those two beliefs put you in the insurrectionist camp. They're 300% more likely in the insurrectionist camp than in the general population, 300 to 600% more likely. And this is very important because it's telling us these are real drivers, whereas issues like economic concerns, are you worrying about losing your job next year, or you can't pay a $500 bill, or you've been bankrupt? We've asked those questions, and no, those aren't the drivers.
And that Great Replacement theory, it's a conspiracy theory that's been part of a narrative for many right-wing cable hosts and provocateurs.
Exactly, and we're seeing that right-wing rhetoric here now turn into unfortunate action.
And it's been lucrative for a lot of those hosts as well. You also talk about a surprising finding in terms of the party affiliation that you surveyed. What's the takeaway from that?
This is not just a Republican Party problem. Yes, 51% of the 21 million adamant insurrectionists are Republican Party members or lean Republican, but 34% are independent. 10% are Democratic. That's really a cross-party phenomenon. So what we're seeing is this is not just a split within the Republican Party.
And what are the, does your report come up with some public policy initiatives that would help address this, especially in anticipation of the 2022 midterms and the 2024 presidential election?
Well, just as with COVID, it takes time for science to come up with viable solutions. That's what's happening here. We identified a surprising source of influence in the 21 million insurrectionists, which is 3/4 believe that local government is their friend, or at least not their enemy. That's very different than how they feel about federal government and state government. That's very important because it means that mayors and local leaders can have an outsized influence on the movement. And this points us in a direction over the next few months to further stress test policy initiatives.
And kind of getting back to the old adage that all politics are local, you see that the Department of Justice is doing this in the midst of this massive investigation, something like 400 plus arrests, and they're trying to go after some of these militia groups like Oath Keepers or Proud Boys. And in your survey, not an insignificant number of respondents had some sort of allegiance to those militia groups. Do you think what the DOJ is doing is effective?
1 million of the 21 million are members of militia groups or personally know one, but 20 million are not. So yes, it's important to pay attention to militia groups because they've got capability we've got to be concerned about. But it's also would be wrong to see this as just a militia movement. This has gone mainstream. 3/4 of the 21 million insurrectionists live in cities, not rural areas. This is much more of a mainstream movement than we're used to thinking about.
Important point to understand. And lastly, I assume they're going to have some more reports coming out of
Yes,
your office.
this is actually our 5th report. We've been doing these since February, and folks can go to our CPOST website, the Chicago Project on Security and Threats, and you can go to our American Political Violence page and see all 5 of the studies. We are already underway with new studies that'll be coming out in the fall.
All right, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the road about some of your findings. And our thanks, as always, to Robert Pape. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.